Just Ask Jody Live. Looks like my mic is muted. Hold on a second. We are going to mic. I think I might not be live yet. Um, hey, everyone. Hold on a second. So sorry for technical difficulties. I am going to do my best to make sure that we are, in fact, live. Hopefully we are. I'm going to keep going ahead with this, folks. And if it doesn't work this time, we'll come back again another time with my guest. I'm getting a weird indication that I'm not live yet, but I believe I am. All right. Good to see everyone. Assuming I am live, we've got a really great guest today. I'm going to get to that in a moment. Just want to say though, if you're here and you're watching us live, to please add comments if you'd like to partake in the conversation, because I always love to get audience comments and include those in the in the conversation with my guest. All right, so today we have a fellow small agency owner. We have Cameron Stark, who is the founder or co-founder, I should say, of Hard Work Club. I have known Cam for a few years now. I met him right before, I guess, a year or two before he started Hard Work Club, and he's based in Toronto, and he's working with other agencies. Right before he started Hard Work, he worked for The Hive, and before that, some bigger agencies like JWT and Publicis. What I love about Cam is that he is a voracious thinker, reader, and learner, and he's really brought that to his agency, Hard Work Club. It's been really a pleasure to watch them as they've evolved their agency over, I think, almost 5 years now. And prior to that, for 15 years, he has helped brands cut through the noise with bold ideas and culturally sharp strategy, which is, of course, a huge benefit to his clients at Hard Work Club. Also, he makes his own hot sauce, which, according to his bio, I will probably receive at some point. But to be honest, I haven't yet. So maybe that'll be my first question for Cam is, what's up with not getting any hot sauce? Oh, hold on, you're muted. There you go. Try it again.
Oh, am I here?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're there.
There's only so many batches of the hot sauce. So, and it also depends on how many hot peppers I grow.
Oh, has it been a
And,
good summer for hot peppers?
no, not really, not up in Toronto. So
Oh,
it's
all right.
a small yield this year from my
It
backyard.
may be just the close friends and family who get the hot sauce for end of year holidays, or maybe special
Well,
clients.
who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
A little bit more random, probably, the distribution of the hot sauce than that. Whoever asked me, pretty much. So.
Okay. Well, I don't know. And who knows now with like tariffs, although you don't sell your hot sauce, but yeah, that's probably a good way to avoid tariffs is just give your product away. But anyway, but that's not your primary product. Your primary product is smarts and great creative ideas at Hard Work Club. Um, the first thing I guess I wanted to ask you. So one of the reasons I love having folks like you on LinkedIn Live is that I think the agencies that I work with very similar to Hard Work Club and in their profile. Smaller agencies, not some of them not as early in their lifespan as yours, but they all kind of struggle with the same or similar issues around business development. And I think it's really useful for people to see what other agency owners do, get inspiration and ideas. And again, if you're watching this live, please do throw in the comments because I'm happy to incorporate that into a conversation. So both you and Meghan, before launching Hard Work Club, you both worked at larger agencies or more traditional agencies. So I guess the first question is, did you guys have a plan for how to grow through business development when you started Hard Work Club?
No. We were, I would say, pretty naive about the challenges around business development and new business. And it's funny because it's not that we weren't exposed to that part of it previously, but the actually being primarily responsible for bringing in new leads, I think we were very kind of naive about it. We had a few good contacts to start that, some of which panned out and we turned into clients and some which didn't. But beyond sort of that initial group, we didn't. I would honestly say we didn't really have a plan. And there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the naivete was around. Did you just kind of thought it was going to be easier or more natural, or just,
I think it
or are
was.
you more excited about doing the great work and not really thinking about, oh yeah, we're going to have to sustain this thing?
Well, I would say pretty early on, we had actually a couple of like pitch successes on clients that we didn't really, we had no, previous relationship with.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
there was like a bit of luck, and it was like, oh, well, maybe this isn't that hard. But then pretty quickly,
Right.
you start to realize, oh no, this is actually a lot harder than that.
Yeah.
And actually, even just getting in the room
Hmm.
to have the conversations to start that process is, I think, a lot harder than we imagined it would be, for
Hmm.
sure.
Why, this is sort of a broad question, and I certainly have my theories, but why do you think it was so hard to get in the room? Was it because you were so new and kind of untested as an agency?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think, and it's interesting because early on, our most of our success was with um, brands and companies that themselves were newer. Many of them had existed less than 10 years.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think those companies were, um, so I think larger, more established companies see small and new agencies as a risk.
Yeah.
Um, and for these sort of, newer companies, they actually kind of saw the opposite, because they, I think, felt that the existing sort of agency landscape and the sort of traditional ways they operated were actually a risk to them because they were such new companies.
Right.
But that said, there's also not that many, brand new companies that have the, sort of budgets that, we
Right.
need in order to kind of do a lot of our work,
Yeah.
especially the media side of the budget, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's not exactly so. So our success with those companies is just not a very big pool. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I should also take a step back. But one of the things that you said about the media side of the business, in terms of the budgets and the scopes that you work in, give us like the quick, 90-second overview. What is Hard Work Club? What kind of work do you do? How might, especially, most of my audience is probably US based. What might they know you for here in the US? What do they know you for in
Yeah.
Canada?
Yeah, so we're an advertising and design agency. So we do both types of work. Advertising, we are very much a sort of general creative agency. So we're obviously focused on creative and strategy, brand identity work. I mean, probably our highest profile work has been for DoorDash Canada.
Yeah.
But we've also worked with other Canadian brands. Nix was another early sort of client of ours. We did several campaigns for them as
Yeah.
they were launching their product in the US. And um, yeah, that's the kind of work that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nix, which is, for those of you who don't know the brand or familiar with the brand, it's KNIX, right? Is
yeah.
that how I just spell it? Yeah. And I know a new campaign, not done by Hard Work Club, just launched fairly recently here in the US, but very different from what you did. I think what you guys did was so, subjectively speaking, or objectively speaking, no, subjectively speaking, was so brilliant. So I encourage everyone to check it out on your website.
I love
Um,
that campaign that we did for Nextstill. It's
yeah.
kind of sort of the first thing we did as Hard Work Club, not
Hmm.
technically, but first big thing. And yeah, I think it still really holds up as a really, really great piece of brand creative.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, as you said, DoorDash also, that's like a client that keeps you very busy.
Yeah, yeah. So we've done a lot of work for DoorDash over the years. We have a campaign that we launched earlier this year, and yeah, no, they continue. I mean, it's interesting. There's not that many brands, especially in Canada, that take big creative risks.
Mm.
I think in general, as a
Mm.
market, Canada is much more kind of cautious and a little bit more risk averse than the US.
Yeah.
So yeah, DoorDash is great in that way that they um, actually believe and have some creative ambition and want
Yeah.
to change people's behavior by it.
Yeah. And I suppose we're getting off the business development topic a little bit, but the other thing I really love about actually both campaigns, all your campaigns, is you guys have a real eye and focus on the production values
Mhm.
and sort of like the visual techniques, especially some of the special effects techniques that you did with some of the DoorDash campaigns. Um, but I guess it does tie back to business development. Well, clearly that's important to you. Let me know if for some reason I've misinterpreted that. How do you get that across in business development as something that makes you distinctive, that sets you apart from your competition, if you even do use it as a differentiator?
Yeah, no, I think we do, and it's a good thing for us to do because it is a differentiator. I think you know we're inundated with so many different brand communications,
Mm,
and like having sort of a distinct um, sort of visual or audio, however it's expressed, but a distinct sort of way of coming across
yeah.
is going to help you cut through clutter. So, you know, it's tricky because we probably um, we probably demand a higher production budget of prospective clients,
Hmm.
but I do really believe that like the quality with which you make your idea has a huge impact on the idea. An idea can be great,
Yeah.
but if it's kind of lazily portrayed,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Yes. I mean, it'd be interesting. I don't know if anyone has ever actually tied a value or attractive value, tracked the value you get from this. But I agree with you. I would bet there even sort of subconsciously a really beautiful produced spot, video, imagery, whatever, um, has some sort of a psychological effect. And I guess the
Mhm.
challenge is when your clients maybe don't understand why they should spend all that money when maybe something cheaper would be as good. But it's not going to be as good. It's not going to represent
Yeah,
the brand as well.
yeah, and I mean, there is actually increasingly more research in the value of these choices, essentially, right? Which
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
production choices. Um, you know, the people over in System One in the UK, they've been doing a lot of sort of joint
Hmm.
publishing of research, and part of their research is looking at sort of what aspects of the story and the visual storytelling
Oh,
and the
that's
audio
fun.
storytelling and like the relative value of audio mnemonics and all of
Yeah.
these things. So
Hmm.
that research is being done, but it's not always necessarily a straight line, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So it can be tricky sometimes if you have somebody who is extremely sort of financially motivated to
Yeah.
explain that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think though there's an element of self-selection on the people who we end up talking to, right?
Yes.
Like if you've seen our work, you're, you know, you're interested in it for a reason, I would think. And when we kind of bring up our perspectives on craft, most people are not.
Yeah.
They're already sort of on board.
Yeah. Yeah. If people are attracted to your work, but they don't believe in the value of craft, then they're probably not the right clients. But the ones
Yeah,
who are going to be reaching out are the ones who say, "Yeah, that's what we want for us."
yeah.
Um, I want to swing back to like again a little early days business development. You mentioned they had some good luck. So when you realize like, oh, this business development, this like winning new business thing might actually be something we need to put some effort into, not to say that you weren't putting effort into it, but to really sort of maybe be more strategic about what were some of the things that you tried and maybe that worked or didn't work even.
Yeah, it was tricky. The several years of pretty kind of like haphazard new business strategy.
Yeah.
I think we've tried everything, from cold email to putting out content and,
Hmm.
you know, networking as best we can. Um, yeah, over time though, we kind of it's it's become crystallized over time, and I think our approach now, I refer to it as making friends and making fans.
Hmm. Yep. Okay.
Um, what happened on kind of two somewhat similar timelines was, one was we kind of started to notice that the majority of our new business opportunities were coming from referrals,
Hmm.
and not necessarily like client referrals, but like the kind of the larger marketing ecosystem was referring us, and we would get calls, and we'd be like, "How did you hear about us?" And there would always be some sort of funny trail of people who had ended up recommending us.
Yeah.
Those were, consultants, freelancers, people in the production community, very, the broad ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we made a conscious decision on our social media to start like trying to kind of more honestly and authentically express who we were.
What do you mean
Um,
by more honestly and authentically? Like, what were you trying to avoid? Because I know even though, social media is a marketing channel, there's still a lot of agencies who feel uncomfortable using it for themselves or just they don't
yeah.
know what to do that's going to be effective or yeah. So tell me a little bit about what inauthentic was and what authentic is for you.
So, I mean, I don't know if I was ever expressing myself inauthentically.
Or maybe what you saw others
No, no,
doing
no.
that you're like, hell no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, I just didn't. It was less a rejection of what other people were doing. It was more like, let's just essentially express what it's like to be in the room with us, work with
Mm.
us, and
Okay.
like
Yeah, I
try
like it.
and try and portray that as much as
Mhm.
possible in our content. Like the conversations that happen or like develop within, our office, like there's there's things that we can express, and it's like,
Yeah.
and really the goal with this content is for people to look at it and be like, oh yeah, these people seem interesting, and I'd like to know more. I'd like to work
Yeah.
with them, etc. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then, I mean, through that as well, we sort of um, started to notice that, like, I think we have a little bit of we have a good underdog story,
Yeah.
as a brand, Hard Work Club, because we didn't have big profiles, like we weren't particularly well known in the Canadian advertising community. And we've still made it work.
Yeah.
We made it go.
Yeah.
We raised our profiles ourselves,
Yeah.
and I think people like that. They can perhaps see themselves in it. And it's like, oh shit, maybe I could do this as well.
Yeah.
And I
And I
think
think that's
they
really essential in any kind of
mhm,
marketing or selling is to do something that allows your ideal client type to see themselves in you or in your personality or the problems you solve. Yeah, I think it's really important.
mhm. Yeah. So I mean, those were, and so yeah, basically we're focused on making friends and making fans.
Yeah. Well,
I
I mean, I
Sorry, go
wanted
ahead.
to dive into that a little bit deeper because, when we were getting ready for this and you first told me about that, I will admit there was part of me that was a little bit like making friends, making fans. I don't know. Is that like how long? Like, is that a really solid strategic approach? But then you do have a methodology behind it. You have a methodology or philosophy behind it. So it's almost
Yes.
like you've got like to this is what we want to feel like, and yet this is not about like crossing your fingers and hoping that you make friends. Yeah, you're actually going out and doing stuff.
Yeah. Like the making for I know it sounds really silly.
It doesn't. No, it
Um,
doesn't. But I mean, it would.
no, it
You know what? It would
does. It
sound
does.
silly if you're like, we're just going to be friendly and people will be attracted to us. That doesn't usually happen. So you are actually doing things to sort of promote the
Yeah.
notion of friendliness.
Yeah, no, we try and actually get out, and we're pretty like active within sort of industry
Yeah.
events,
Yeah.
especially here and around. But yeah, I mean, it is. You're right. It is a philosophy. I like it. I like saying it to people here. It's like
Yeah.
just go make friends with them. Uh,
Well, you even
but
said you were talking about like networking, like the way that how that philosophy sort of informed how you network,
mhm.
which makes it. I'm gonna let you describe it because you're the way you described it was very unthreatening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so networking, I think, obviously people have a lot of negative associations with it. It's kind of a stigmatized term sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I had been thinking about this fact, and I basically made a decision that like it doesn't have to be drudgery
Yeah.
if you kind of like focus on people who you meet in business and you genuinely like.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I could actually be like real friends with this person. So if I meet somebody I like, I try and invest some time in them. And then you invest time in like maintaining that relationship, which is like
Yeah.
pretty simple. It's only, maybe seeing them a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
And especially with like, your online presence, it's so much easier to sort of kind of remain present to these people. And yeah, you just if you like somebody, you embrace them.
Yeah.
Let's meet up every once in a while, and it's as easy as that.
So, and again, if I were playing devil's advocate, what I might say is like, yeah, but your best clients may not be likable. But on the other hand, I also believe that the best new business strategy is one that you're actually going to execute on.
Yeah,
And so if you're going to network by choosing people that you align with, you get along with, you can be friends with. And I'm also assuming that these people do have something to do with your business in some ways.
yeah,
Then at least you're getting out there and, at least you're getting out there, creating those connections, investing the time, investing the emotional energy and the goodwill, and having faith that it's going to lead to a relationship.
yeah. And I mean, it comes back. This comes back to this notion though that like these referrals come from lots of different places. So
Yeah,
even if somebody's not, gonna be a client or
yeah,
like is not in a position or role, whatever,
yeah,
it's still broadening your network, giving you a like a greater chance that they'll
yeah,
refer you to somebody else who's looking. I mean, that's the other thing about our business that's so hard is that like um, our customers are in the market for our services like 1% of the time,
yes,
right?
yeah.
So you got
Timing
to
is a
be
huge part of it.
you've just got to be
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
ready, mentally available, ready to buy
yeah,
when they are ready to buy.
yeah,
And, you know, um, that's one of these things. You got to have a lot of feelers out there in order for
yeah,
that to work.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I felt like I was going to make a really profound point there, but I've totally forgotten it. Um, but yeah, and I think that also that notion that of like again the investing and being open for where those opportunities are coming from. Totally. I
Mm.
also wanted to ask you about another thing that you're doing, which maybe wouldn't be labeled under the category traditional business development, but you've started this content series called Field Notes.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about what Field Notes are, how they started, and how you're using it to, again, get your name out there.
Yeah, so Field Notes kind of started by chance. Like I've always been interested in publishing content and thought leadership and all
Hmm.
of that stuff. So I've never been shy about that. This was like a bit of a strange one because it's got kind of pretty loose connection to marketing and advertising, perhaps. But again, it kind of just was like, well, why don't we just express who we are, what interests us, and like if you're into it, maybe you'll want to work with us. So
Mhm.
Field Notes originally, I had done a trip just with a friend to Yellowknife, which is in the far north of Canada, like north of the Arctic Circle.
And you went
And
in the
it's
summertime.
went in the
You went earlier this
summertime,
summer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, went earlier in the summer. Yeah, so permanent daylight up there.
Yeah.
It's a weird place that like everybody knows in Canada, but like nobody much has been to. So in the aftermath of that, just a lot of people were asking me questions about it, and
Yeah.
I realized that people wanted to sort of hear about this place, and
Mhm.
I turned it into sort of field notes, which I approached as like this is kind of me observing something and kind of expressing what I think about it.
Yeah.
It kind of became, like, use the term gonzo ethnography.
Yeah.
You're kind of living with these people and sort of then the second one, which I just published, was on AI companionship, which um, I decided to explore. I decided to get
You
AI
got yourself an AI
girlfriends,
girlfriend. That's right. With
and
your wife's kind of, sort of, maybe
yeah,
with
yeah,
some
she gave her
permission.
consent. She gave her consent. I don't think she was particularly threatened by my
Right.
AI girlfriend, so
Right.
I wasn't really concerned. But what? It's something that tons of people are doing. They're
Yeah.
interacting with AI companions, especially young people, male and female. And it's a sort of a form of research. I wanted to sort of
Yeah.
understand it, try and figure out what people get from it.
It's
Um,
what I really like about it for you or for anyone who's listening to this, watching this out there. What I like about it is that, again, you did something. You did
yeah,
something. You did these field notes. You weren't sure where they went. We were going to go with it, and then I think you were able to back into this idea of like, well, wait a minute. These field notes are also about observation of the community we serve, like these
yeah,
consumers in Yellowknife. They buy stuff. um the AI is a thing that we as consumers are interacting with, and that's going to affect what we do and what we buy. And so I think it was really interesting the way, again, I'd probably say, if given a choice whether you back into a strategy or start with a strategy, I'd probably always say start with a strategy and then execute it. But it can be easier said than done. So I love the way that you sort of backed into this
I'm a.
idea, and you're like,
I
this will
think I
work.
back into. I think I back into a lot of strategies. It's not a bad way, you know.
Okay.
But to your point, you have to be kind of willing to play around,
Yeah.
um, and you also have to be willing to fail. Like I don't.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the things I think that probably keeps people from pursuing content and like content style marketing is just that, like, it's hard to get any indicators of success, obviously,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
also it's
Yes.
like, if it people feel like, oh, I did all this work and was it a waste of time? One of the things I like about this is I kind of just enjoy doing it anyway, so it's never gonna ever feel like a waste of time for me.
Yeah. So
Um,
it goes back to my philosophy: the best business development plan is the one that you're going to do.
yeah,
And if thought leadership feels foreign, it's impossible to get yourself to sit down and create content, no matter what that content is. Then you know what? Let's figure out another entry into business development. But I'm really glad that you're doing that. And then what's the next iteration of Field Notes, the next chapter? You mentioned that it was
yeah.
the AI girlfriend is sort of as you move away from that.
Yeah, my next chapter, I'm interested in wellness, which is obviously a long, um, ongoing trend, but specifically male wellness,
Hmm.
which I think is an interesting kind of aspect of wellness. And, there's a competitive nature to it. Who can cold plunge the longest? Who can stay in the sauna for however many times? I think with the advent of like fitness tracking, look, I'm even wearing a fitness
Yeah.
tracker myself. There's like this
That's fun too.
interestingly competitive aspect to wellness that I think
Yeah.
men
Mm,
are
yeah.
especially prone to.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
also, yeah, rich in terms of ethnography and insights. And yeah, I'm looking forward
yeah.
to hearing or looking,
So
seeing.
I'm gonna be going and staring at dudes in the sauna. So we'll see how it goes.
Just a warning to you fellas in at health clubs in Toronto. He means no
That's a
harm. He
guy
means
asking
no
weird
harm.
questions.
Um, so we're at 30 minutes. We're just after 30 minutes past the hour. And I tend to do this. I feel like, oh, just as we're warming up, it's time to say, hey, we've got to wrap this up. Yeah, thank you so much for being here and talking about your approach. Is there anything else that I like that you wish I'd asked about the agency and how you manage business development that I didn't ask? It's okay to say no. But
No, I mean, yeah, like I'm glad that we're talking now because I don't think, necessarily a year ago I would have had as coherent an answer.
it's okay.
Um,
It still would have been good because I think again, agency owners who were where you are now, or where agency owners who are now where you were a year ago would have found that advice really valuable. So
mhm.
it's all good.
All right.
Yeah. Well, it was really nice to see you. And like I said, it's one of my pleasures has been watching how Hard Work Club has grown and evolved. And maybe we should have you back this time next year, so we can see how things have changed.
Yeah. See, I've got a whole new philosophy, maybe. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
And then one other quick thing, just if people want to learn more about you and Hard Work Club, let me just share. Hardworkclub.com is your agency's website. We got that right, right? And you've also been very generous and agreed that if anyone would like to reach out to you with questions about how you're approaching business development or just in general, like running a
Or
small
just to make
agency
friends.
or
If you're
make
interested in
friends,
just making friends. Yeah.
yeah, help Cam fulfill his new business strategy. They can reach you here at Cameron at Hard Work Club. And thank you so much. It was, as always, such a pleasure to see you.